Have you ever wondered what really happened to the 12 tribes of Israel? Were they truly lost? Or could some of us today actually be their descendants without even knowing it? For centuries, historians, theologians, and even conspiracy theorists have searched for answers. Did these ancient tribes vanish without a trace, or did they scatter across the world, secretly shaping nations and cultures in ways we never imagined? Some say the evidence is hidden in plain sight, maybe even closer than you think. Today we're diving deep into history, prophecy, DNA research, and modern discoveries to uncover the truth. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see this ancient mystery in a whole new light. But before we begin, let me ask you, do you believe the lost tribes are still out there, or are they gone forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And now, let's begin by answering a simple question. Who were the 12 tribes of Israel? The 12 tribes of Israel were the descendants of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel after he wrestled with an angel, Genesis 32:28. These tribes were named after his 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. But how did these tribes come to be? You may be curious to know. It all started with Jacob's sons, whose families grew into large clans. Over time, these clans expanded into entire tribes, each with its own role in the nation of Israel. But there's something unusual about the list of tribes. If you've ever counted them in the Bible, you might notice that Joseph's name is missing. Instead, his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, each became a separate tribe. This happened because Jacob, their grandfather, adopted them as his own, Genesis 48:5-6. By doing this, he gave Joseph a double portion of inheritance, symbolizing the blessing and leadership Joseph carried in Egypt. So did the 12 tribes of Israel have different roles in the society? Absolutely. Judah became the tribe of kings, with King David coming from this lineage, Genesis 49:10. Levi, chosen for priesthood, handled spiritual matters and temple duties. Issachar was known for wisdom and understanding the times, while Zebulun thrived in trade and commerce. Dan played a strong judicial role, and let's not forget Gad and Naphtali, the fearless warriors, known for their strength and bravery in battle. Every tribe had a purpose, ensuring Israel's survival and growth. Now that we know this, let's dive into the blessings Jacob gave to his sons before he passed. Have you ever wondered what those blessings really meant? These weren't just words of encouragement, they were prophetic declarations shaping their futures. Judah was promised kingship, Joseph's line was blessed with prosperity, and Reuben was warned about the consequences of his past mistakes. These blessings would ultimately influence how the tribes evolved. When it came time to divide the land, Moses first assigned territories, but it was Joshua who led the charge in actually dividing the land after entering the Promised Land, Joshua 14-19. The tribes cast lots, seeking God's guidance on where each tribe would settle. But here's the twist, not all tribes stayed within Canaan. Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh chose land east of the Jordan River, perfect for their herds. Even though they lived outside the Promised Land, they still fought alongside their brothers to secure Israel's future. You might be wondering, what does it really mean that some of the tribes of Israel are considered lost? The term lost tribes refers to the 10 northern tribes that were scattered and for a long time seemed to disappear from history. After King Solomon's reign, Israel split into 2 kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. The 10 northern tribes, known as Israel, were eventually conquered by the Assyrians in 722 BC. These tribes were taken into exile and spread out across the Assyrian Empire, their identities largely lost over time. Today, these 10 tribes are often referred to as the lost tribes of Israel. The tribes of Judah and Benjamin remained in the southern kingdom, which became the kingdom of Judah, and their descendants are the Jews we recognize today. The northern tribes, however, seemingly vanished from history after the Assyrian exile. But here's an interesting thought. Did they really disappear completely, or did they integrate into other nations? Historical records suggest that these lost tribes might have blended into surrounding cultures over time, taking on new identities but still retaining traces of their ancient heritage. Some even believe that certain groups today could be descendants of these lost tribes, living in places as far-flung as Africa, India, and even parts of Europe. While we may never know exactly where they went, the mystery of the lost tribes still fascinates people today. Now, here's a question that might blow your mind. Could the lost tribes of Israel be hidden in plain sight? It's a fascinating thought. Some people believe that descendants of the lost tribes are scattered around the world, living among us without even knowing their true heritage. Could they be living in remote villages or even integrated into large populations? It's possible, especially when we consider how easily groups can assimilate into new societies over time. What about modern DNA testing? Could that also hold the key to unlocking this ancient mystery? With today's technology, genetic testing has made incredible strides. Some believe that DNA could help us trace links to these lost tribes, but it's not that simple. While genetic studies have revealed some interesting connections, identifying the exact lineages of these tribes remains tricky. Some people have even claimed to have DNA that links them to the lost tribes, but solid evidence that conclusively connects modern populations to ancient Israel is still lacking. Speaking of evidence, what happened to the tribes of Judah and Benjamin after the Babylonian exile? Unlike the 10 northern tribes, the tribes of Judah and Benjamin survived the exile and returned to the land of Israel. They rebuilt Jerusalem, and from their descendants came the Jewish people we know today. But even their journey wasn't without struggle. They faced new challenges, including the influence of foreign empires, but they managed to keep their identity alive through the ages. So, are the lost tribes of Israel still alive today? That's a question that has intrigued people for centuries. While we don't have concrete proof of where the 10 northern tribes are now, some believe their descendants still live, hidden in plain sight across various nations. While the truth may never be fully known, the idea that these tribes could still influence the world is captivating. Now, you may wonder, do the Jewish people today come from a specific tribe? The answer is mainly from the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, part of the southern kingdom of Israel. After the Babylonian exile, these two tribes returned to the land and became the foundation of modern Judaism. The term Jewish actually comes from Judah, so yes, most Jews today trace their ancestry to this tribe. But what about tracing your lineage to a specific tribe? In ancient times, the tribes kept records, but today, it's much harder. Without clear documentation, tracing a direct lineage to a specific tribe is nearly impossible for most people. However, there are communities today that claim descent from the lost tribes. Some groups in Ethiopia, India, and even the Americas believe they are descendants of these scattered tribes, preserving unique traditions. The 12 tribes continue to play a significant role in modern Jewish culture and religion. They are central to Jewish history and are woven into Jewish prayer, teachings, and traditions, symbolizing unity, diversity, and God's promise to His people. Now, let's dive into an intriguing question. Is there a connection between the 12 tribes and groups like the Pashtuns, Lemba, or Igbo Jews? Some people believe there are striking similarities in their customs, traditions, and even DNA. The Pashtuns, who live in Afghanistan and Pakistan, have been linked to the lost tribes because of their historical practices, which resemble ancient Israelite customs. The Lemba people of southern Africa also claim descent from the tribe of Levi, with their oral traditions and genetic tests pointing to Jewish ancestry. Then there are the Igbo Jews in Nigeria, who have long held traditions resembling those of ancient Israel. While these claims are still being studied and debated, it's fascinating to consider the potential connections. Could Native American or Asian tribes have roots in the lost tribes, you may ask? It's a theory that has been proposed, especially when you consider certain Native American customs and rituals that seem to align with ancient Israelite practices. Some have also suggested that certain Asian tribes might share ancient Israelite lineage, though there's limited solid evidence to support these claims. Nonetheless, the idea that the lost tribes could be scattered across the globe is both fascinating and compelling. Here's another question often asked. Could the lost tribes be found one day? It's possible. As technology and genetic research continue to advance, we may uncover more clues that could help us trace their descendants. While the mystery remains, who knows? One day the lost tribes might be rediscovered and their full story revealed to the world. So does the Bible predict the return of the lost tribes? Many believe the answer is yes. In Ezekiel 37:15-28, God promises to reunite the scattered tribes. The prophecy uses the symbol of two sticks, representing the northern and southern kingdoms being joined together. This powerful image points to the future restoration of Israel and offers hope for those who believe the lost tribes will return to their land. Speaking of Ezekiel, have you ever wondered what the two sticks actually mean? In Ezekiel 37, God tells him to take two sticks, one for the northern tribes and the other for the southern, and unite them. This act represents the future reunification of all 12 tribes, showing that despite their scattering, God has a plan to restore them. Now, why is the tribe of Dan missing from Revelation 7? When John lists the 12 tribes in Revelation, Dan is not mentioned. Some scholars believe this is because of Dan's history of leading Israel into idolatry, Judges 18. This absence raises questions and highlights the importance of staying faithful to God. As for the 12 tribes reuniting in the end times, many believe this prophecy will be fulfilled. Revelation speaks of the 144,000. 12,000 from each tribe being sealed to serve God in the end times. This suggests that, in God's perfect timing, the tribes will be reunited to fulfill His ultimate plan for Israel. Could Christians today be spiritually connected to the 12 tribes? Many believe they are. The Bible speaks of Christians being grafted into Israel, Romans 11:17. Suggesting that believers in Christ share in the promises given to the tribes. This connection doesn't mean Christians are physically descended from the tribes, but spiritually they are part of God's family and included in His covenant. It's a beautiful picture of unity and grace, showing that God's plan for Israel extends to all who believe. With that said, are the 12 tribes important for the future of Israel? Absolutely. The tribes are central to God's plan for the nation. Prophecies in both the Old and New Testaments point to their future role in the restoration of Israel. In the end times, many believe the 12 tribes will be reunited, fulfilling God's promises. They will play a key part in the spiritual and physical restoration of the land. Therefore, the history of the tribes is a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness, even in times of exile and hardship. It speaks to the importance of staying true to God's calling and promises, both for the tribes of Israel and for Christians today. The story of the 12 tribes inspires faith, unity, and a deeper understanding of God's eternal plan for His people. Here's some food for thought. What tribe do you think Jesus belonged to? Interesting question, right? Well, here's the answer. Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, the same tribe that was promised to bear the Messiah, Genesis 49:10. This was pivotal because Judah was destined to be the line of kings, and Jesus, born into the line of King David, fulfilled this prophecy perfectly. What about the Apostle Paul? Paul hailed from the tribe of Benjamin, Philippians 3:5. Known for their warriors and loyalty, the tribe of Benjamin shaped Paul's passionate missionary work, reflecting that same bold spirit. Now, why do some religious groups claim to be from the lost tribes? Groups like the Lemba people or certain Native American tribes trace their roots back to the lost tribes, often based on oral traditions, cultural practices, or even physical traits. While the research is still ongoing, it's fascinating to consider that the lost tribes may have left their mark in some unexpected places. Even the names of the 12 tribes carry deep meaning, often reflecting their characteristics or future roles. Judah, for example, means praise, a fitting name for a tribe that would lead in worship and produce Israel's kings. Across different religions, the story of the 12 tribes remains significant. How then do different religions view the 12 tribes? In Judaism, the tribes form Israel's foundation, with hope for their reunification. Christianity connects them to Jesus' prophecy fulfillment, while Islam acknowledges their significance as Abraham's descendants. These stories continue to shape faith across the globe. In conclusion, the question of where the 12 tribes of Israel are today remains one of history's greatest mysteries, one that continues to captivate historians, theologians, and believers alike. While some tribes have preserved their identity, others seem to have been scattered, lost, or assimilated into various nations and cultures. Yet biblical prophecy points to a future reunification, suggesting that their story is far from over. Whether through historical research, genetic discoveries, or divine revelation, the search for the lost tribes continues, reminding us of their enduring legacy and significance. Are they hidden in plain sight? Have they blended into different civilizations, waiting to be rediscovered? One thing is certain: the 12 tribes remain a powerful symbol of faith, identity, and God's unshakable plan for His people. So, what do you think? Could the lost tribes be closer than we imagine? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you all. I'll see you in the next video.